Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome into morning in the Valley here on Monday, April the 14th. Glad you are with us today, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, right here on Facebook, on X, on YouTube, wherever you are watching us live and in living color. Glad you are with us today. Hope you will let your Valley friends know about us as we are just getting this little venture off and running. But we'll, again, be here every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday all through the off season. We'll get going every day once we get back into the season. But head on over to YouTube, check out Morning in the Valley, like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. And you'll get the little notification every time we go live every morning here, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday again during the off season. So we appreciate your support here. In the early going here in a couple minutes, we're going to talk with Steve Layman. He is the men's basketball radio voice for the Belmont Bruins, covers everything Belmont for News Channel 5 down in Nashville. So we've got a lot to talk about the Bruins, some comings and goings on the men's side of the women. Making a great run after, I know, a heartbreaking disappointment in the Missouri Valley Conference Tournament Championship game, falling to Murray State, but they got into the WBIT, made it all the way to the championship game, where they ultimately fell to Minnesota in the championship, and really a neat deal. And we'll talk with Steve about it, playing at Hinkle Fieldhouse. And for us old guys and fans of Hoosiers and all that, Hinkle Fieldhouse certainly has a warm place in our hearts. But we'll talk to him about that experience for the Belmont women. Quick programming note for Wednesday morning. Right here on the program, we will talk with Illinois State head coach Ryan Peden. Lots to talk about with Coach Peden, certainly, but he will be here with us on Wednesday. All right, time now for some headlines of the day. And as we speak right now, over in Valparaiso, Indiana, Valparaiso is introducing a new women's basketball coach. Of course, her name is Courtney Boyd. She has been the head coach at Quincy the last couple of seasons. She is an NAIA championship winning head coach, but there is a new era now for this Valpo program after Valpo opting to part ways with Mary Evans a couple of weeks ago. This is an opportunity for Courtney Boyd to do something with this program that really has not been done. And what she has done in her career is she has built winners. And this Valpo program, historically, in recent history, really, it has been a struggle. Last winning season came back in 2019-20, where I believe they had gotten into the WNIT. I think at that point, but obviously COVID shut everything down. Last winning season before that, 2008, 2009. So it has been a while. Folks up there, fans of that Beacons women's program, thirsty for a championship, most certainly. But let's start winning. Let's start building this thing up, and that will be Courtney Boyd's primary focus. But she is, I said, 9 o'clock this morning, right at the top of the hour. We got started. Her introductory news conference got underway at Valpo. So we hope to hear from Coach Boyd coming up in the very near future. It is portal season, most certainly right now, and it was an interesting. Saw it last year, and I think you're going to see more and more of it. There was almost I don't know, it was an unwritten rule, but it always felt like a little weird when kids transfer within the conference to another program. And we saw it on the women's side with Murray State. Hallie Polk was an all-league player at Bradley 2 seasons ago. She comes to Murray State, has another, goes from third team to second team all-league, one of the best guards in the conference. And we're seeing more in-conference portal moving this year as Bella Finnegan from Indiana State has announced her commitment to Illinois State. So Bella Finnegan averaged almost 13 points a game last year for the Sycamores. She was shot 33% from 3-point range. Indiana State is first of all, as the kids like to say, it's a great get for Kristen Gillespie up at Illinois State. For Indiana State, it is an interesting time right now for head coach Mark Mitchell, who going in now to year number 2. He didn't get the job last year until May the 10th. So the portal had opened, the portal had closed, and then he goes and gets a head coaching job at Indiana State. I believe he was at the IU Indianapolis. And so I think that's the artist formerly known as IUPUI. So he comes in late. And at that point, I mean, look, any first year head coach, not a first time head coach, but a first year head coach comes in, there is always a little bit of scrambling, especially in this portal era, because everybody leaves. It's like everybody just scatters to their you end up walking in, and if you have anybody stay, it's almost like a bonus. And so you're just scrambling to get your roster together. And look, Indiana State first year with Coach Mitchell struggled 2-18 in the conference, 4-28 overall. If you go to Indiana State's roster page right now and you look at the 2025-26 roster, you see all the coaches, and under the players, there is not one person. They have 0 players technically on their roster right now. They had 13 players go into the portal at the end of the year. And as we have learned, there are 100 reasons why kids go into the portal. And whether it's the kid's decision, whether it's the coach's decision, whether it's a mutual decision, whatever you want to say, there's 1,000 reasons. But I think a lot of it just becomes, look, from a coaching standpoint, you come in late, you're just scrambling to get a roster together, you're trying to get your culture built, and you're kind of just you've got what you got. And then you have to make the decision as a coach, what do we want to do here? And so again, however we got to the end, what we got to was a completely clear deck for Indiana State and Mark Mitchell starting over. But part of that includes Bella Finnegan, and she is transferring out of Terre Haute, and she is going up to Illinois State to help Kristen Gillespie's bunch there at ISU. So a kid that can score, has shown they can score in this league, is Bella Finnegan. Again, 13 points. So a good deal there for her. Another portal, this one, though, out of the conference, into the conference, from Eastern Kentucky to Bradley. Certainly a name familiar with Bradley folks. Maya Wardle, the daughter of men's basketball coach Brian Wardle, played her freshman season of college hoops at Eastern Kentucky a season ago. Played 32 games, played about 14, 15 minutes a game, averaged about 2 points, but she has decided to come home. She made the announcement on social media over the weekend, so she will be coming back to Bradley to play for Coach Kate Popovic-Goss. I'm sure dad, mom, everybody in the family happy to have her a little more, have Maya a little closer to arm's reach there, rather than over in Eastern Kentucky playing with the Colonels. But Maya Wardle is now coming to Bradley. On the men's side, we've got some signings. We had one over the weekend at Murray State. His name is J.J. Traynor, signed with the Racers, a 6'8" forward. Spent 4 years at the University of Louisville, spent last season playing at DePaul. How was he getting a 6th year of college basketball? Of course, you get 1 year in the COVID and in the 2021 season, and then his final year at Louisville, only played 8 games, injured his shoulder, and ended up getting a medical red shirt. So that's how you end up getting a 6th year. But for his career, he's a 5.5 point game scorer, averages about 3 points, or averaged 3 rebounds a game. In those 8 games, though, before he got hurt in the 23-24 season at Louisville, you saw Traynor start to make a little bit of a jump. He was averaging north of 10 points a game, was averaging close to 5 rebounds a game, was shooting 37% from 3. Again, for 6'8", 6'9", wing, whether he's a 3 or a 4. So you saw some glimpses of, maybe we've got something cooking here with J.J. Traynor. But obviously, the coaching change. Kenny Payne leaves, is asked to leave at Louisville. Traynor goes to DePaul, and never really sure how the skids are greased here. But assistant coach at DePaul, one Brian Mullins, who is an assistant coach now at Murray State. Brian's brother, Brendan Mullins. So if nothing else, you know that Brendan got some good intel from Brian about bringing JJ in. And so now he is player number 5 right now that Ryan Miller has signed as the head coach at Murray State so far out of the portal. So still a long way to go. Again, with the opting in and the scholarship limits going from 13 to 15 now. Still a long way to go for Ryan Miller and for a lot of schools, but one more down for Coach Miller as JJ Traynor is now a Murray State racer. Valparaiso gets a commitment. Owen Deese, a 4-year player, he was out of Texas A&M Corpus Christi. 6'8" forward there, has had a really nice career, averaged almost 10 points a game last season, shot 38% from three-point range. Did Deese, been on an NCAA tournament team at Texas A&M Corpus Christi, a native of Evansville, so certainly coming back closer to home, getting back into his home state. So Roger Powell, he's lost All Right. He has lost Cooper Schwieger. He's lost pretty much everybody. Justice McNair is the only scholarship player coming back at this point. And so now Owen Deese joins that group as well to help fill the cupboards again for Roger Powell. I saw one of our many social media accounts that follows the heck out of Missouri Valley Conference basketball, and saw yesterday the incoming transfer signings at this point from, and whether it's commitments or signings, I guess there's a little bit of gray area there, but ultimately it's been slow right now in terms of what we're seeing from Valley schools. Just from, Murray State has been the hot one. They've signed 5 guys. Drake has signed 2. Evansville, Valpo, UIC, Belmont, all with 1. Indiana State, Illinois State, SIU, Bradley, Northern Iowa with 0 at this point. But it's coming. The portal's about to close in a week, and this is now the time. Visits are happening, and you're going to start really seeing some momentum, and I expect a lot happening in this week. We have spoken about Bradley, and it is time to speak more about Bradley, and it's time to bring in our friend. He is Steve Layman. He is the radio voice of the Belmont Bruins, covers all things Belmont for News Channel 5 down in Nashville. Steve, how are you this morning?
Good morning, Jeff. Good to be with you again.
All right. First of all, let's talk some ladies. I said this may be an absolute generational thing, but I think it goes back to 8th grade and seeing Hoosiers for the first time, and oh my gosh, Hinkle Fieldhouse, and this is great. And I have been lucky in my old TV career to go to a lot of places, revered places in this country. Have not been able to go to Hinkle yet. First, let's talk Steve Layman. Were you ever at Hinkle Fieldhouse before, or was that your first venture there for the WBIT semifinals?
Yeah, I've been there a couple times, fortunately, in the past, and it is always kind of an awe-inspiring thing. I grew up about an hour and 45 minutes west of Indianapolis in Illinois, and there's kind of a synergy between high school basketball in the state of Illinois and the state of Indiana. They're 2 storied states when it comes to high school basketball. And for the longest time, Jeff, they only had one class that decided the high school state championship, both in Illinois and Indiana. And that's the movie Hoosiers, right? Hickory High, which is a fictitious name, but it's made off of Milan, a school in Indiana, and at the same time, there was a school in Illinois, Hebron, that did the same thing about 2 years apart, where they went from a town of 150 or 200 in the school all the way to the state championship game and won a state championship. That's what Hoosiers is based on, and of course, it is filmed at the end inside historic Hinkle Fieldhouse there in Indianapolis, and the old line, Norman Dale goes in and says, measures 10 feet, just like the gym back at home. And that's what I think about every time I walk in there. It truly is special. And it was kind of an awe-inspiring moment this time to walk in again to see a Belmont team competing at that level. And it was a lot of fun. And certainly the semifinal win was a feather in the cap for Bart Brooks and the Bruins women's basketball program. And they nearly pulled off an epic comeback in the championship game against Minnesota to cut down the nets.
So us old guys like it. Did the team sort of understand, appreciate sort of the historic nature of just the gym they got a chance to play in? I know it's not Madison Square Garden that the old NIT used to be in, which is maybe at another level, but did they appreciate it?
I think they did. It was interesting, Jeff. that Bart Brooks actually said, I think the team likes the arena just because the shooting sightlines are so darn good that they just enjoy being in it because they think it's a good basketball arena. So that may have been more on the front of their mind than the history behind it and kind of walking where legends before you, or at least legendary stories before you, have been. But yeah, I think there's some scholars on this team and some historians on this team that understand all that and certainly understood what they were playing for, and that this just adds another layer to what was a really, really good season of overcoming a lot of adversity and doing something that no Belmont team had ever done before.
The Bruins lose in the Missouri Valley Conference Championship game, and it felt like there were, gosh, there was really the whole top six of the league this year on the women's side. It was like it was just going to be who played well for 3 days there in Evansville, and ultimately Murray State was able to get the win. But for Belmont, and I think maybe the answer is the results. But what did it take a little while for them to want to play, like, and maybe not as much want to play, but what, hey, let's just see what we can do, or did it sort of organically, like, oh, we're still winning, let's just kind of keep going?
I think there were two parts to it. I think there was a part that this team is full of upperclassmen and they wanted to go and extend their season as long as they could. And then once they started winning, I think they really wanted to take off and see if they could do something special. But it is interesting, Jeff, because this program is built on winning championships and getting to the NCAA tournament. They played for the conference championship 8 of the last 10 years, whether that's the OVC or the Missouri Valley Conference, including 2 of the first 3 years in the Valley. They won NCAA tournament games in back-to-back seasons. They believe that they can not just get into the NCAA tournament, but make noise once they get there. And there was some real disappointment in that game against Murray State in the final. They just ran into a buzzsaw. The Racers were unbelievable in that game. And I don't know what team was going to beat Murray State on that day. And that was truly a disappointment because they thought that they were prepared. They thought they had the team. And despite the injuries they faced, especially in the second half of the season, they thought they were playing well in the Valley tournament to have a shot to beat Murray State in that game and get back to the NCAA tournament. And who knows what happens there. But it's really interesting, Jeff. No matter the disappointment that came with that, you get into this tournament and your first game is against a rival in Middle Tennessee, a team that you beat in the regular season, but obviously you don't want to then lose to them on your home floor in a postseason event. They came out and they took care of business. Then they get Northern Arizona, and they fall down by 21 at the half. They're down 14 with 2:50 to go, and they rally back with a 19-4 run in the final 2.5 minutes, really, and win the game at the buzzer on a Jalen Banks reverse lay-in to get into the quarterfinals. Then they go light the nets on fire at James Madison. They hit 18 threes. They win by 45. Then they beat a Power 5 school in Villanova. And now all of a sudden you're playing for the championship against Minnesota, where, again, they got down big. They clawed all the way back, got it to basically a 2-possession game with just over a minute to go, and couldn't quite get over the hump there to win the championship. But when you think about it, and I asked Bart even this, and he said, look, our goal will always be to win a championship, get to the NCAA tournament, because we believe we've built a program that can not just compete there, but win there and advance in March. But if you're not going to get there, or maybe even if you get there and you lose in the first round, it's hard to say that this experience and this exposure may not have even been more beneficial. To have played 5 games in the postseason, to win a postseason game over a rival, to have an epic comeback in there, to go to Hinkle Fieldhouse and win a game on national TV to get to the championship, and then perform well, especially in the second half against Minnesota. That was a real testament to where this program has come from. And I think a run, despite not being a championship season or an NCAA tournament season, that will be remembered for a long time by Belmont backers.
In years past, it would feel like this is a great springboard into next season. But like, it's the way of the world now. You never know who's coming back one year to the next. Just looking ahead to, next year and sort of the recruiting priorities for Bart Brooks this summer. What's kind of number one on that list for him?
Well, he's going to have to find some size up front. That's where most of the graduation departures are going to be. One thing that's interesting about their run is it sort of truncated whatever portal window there's going to be for them because it played into April. So the portal had been open for weeks for a lot of other teams and business had already happened. And this team was still trying to win games and potentially win a championship. And so everything's going to happen here in short order for the Belmont women's basketball program if there is things to happen in terms of the transfer portal, either outgoing or incoming. But they're going to have to rework the front court. They lose basically everybody up there, and they're going to have to get older probably through the portal and whatever they do. But the backcourt stands to be pretty darn good. Jalen Banks is terrific. Sanaa Tripp really showed out, especially in the postseason as she got more time there. Emily LaChapelle on the wing has another year of eligibility. And so they like what they have coming back in there. There's a possibility maybe to get a waiver in another year out of Tootie Jones. That would certainly be huge for them. And so we'll see what they put around them. But certainly the makings is there. More than anything at this point, Jeff, is this is a program that is built on a standard. And there's enough people, there's some young players that played, 10 minutes, 12 minutes a game that now are going to be asked to play a little bit bigger role. And they understand what the winning standard is and what the effort and the work is required to play the schedule that Bart Brooks demands in the offseason and to compete in the Missouri Valley Conference for a chance to win a championship and, of course, get back to the postseason. And so that's really where it all starts for them as they head into the offseason.
Has he given you any inkling about the non-conference schedule next year? Because his non-conference schedule this year was ridiculous in the most respectful way possible of just, all right, who's top 15 teams in the country. We'll take on 10 of them. Let's just go.
I think at the tip-off luncheon for the past 5 or 6 years, I've asked him, are you actually doing your schedules, or like who hates you that is doing the scheduling for you and then handing it off to you? And he just kind of laughs. And I feel like every year he tries to one-up himself, Jeff. So I fully expect the Belmont non-conference schedule on the women's side to be murderer's row once again next year. They just believe that. I mean, one, they've competed with a lot of these teams.
Yep.
This was the rare year where they didn't win one of those non-conference games or two of those non-conference games. And their thought is if you can get these games, especially when they're almost certainly not going to be on your home court, if you can win one or two of them, if you go 2-5 against those top-tier quad one opponents in the non-conference, you're going to put yourself in a position with a good season in the Valley where you're going to have a chance at an at-large bid. And even this year, they went 0-7 against the power conference teams on their schedule. 4 or 5 of them were losses by 6 points or less. Yeah. But they didn't get over the hump and win any. Even with that being said, Jeff, when you looked at Selection Sunday, they were in most people's second 4 out. So if you think about that, that's what, like if it was a 76-team tournament, they would have been in as an at-large bid. That's right there on the cut line without actually having won any of those games. So if you could flip 1 or 2 of those games around, you're going to have a really good shot to find yourself in as an at-large bid. That, of course, is what everyone is trying to do, both on the men's and women's side in the Missouri Valley Conference. And that's certainly something where Belmont feels it's positioned itself with these schedules, where if you can pick off 1 or 2, and then you do what you expect to do in the conference season, you're going to give yourself a shot to be recognized by the selection committee, even if you don't make the run all the way through the conference tournament to cut down the nets.
Yeah, I mean, 4-point home loss to Ohio State, 6-point road loss to Kentucky, 3-point neutral site loss to Mississippi State. Right there. And your point, it's the women's game. It feels like there's a little more possibility right now for those at large from the Valley. And from a schedule standpoint, there isn't anybody that could say you didn't play anybody in the non-conference, coach. So let's work on that for next year. All right, let's flip to the guys. Casey Alexander, another 20-win season, just death taxes and 20 wins at Belmont, 22-11, 13-7 in the conference, made it to the semifinals, lose to Drake in just a root canal 57-50 game. I guess for me with them, I thought Casey, look, Ben McCollum was going to get coach of the year because that was just what happens when you win, and with everything that Drake sort of unexpectedly came from nowhere in a lot of ways to win the thing. But you lose Malik Dia, and you lose Jacoby Gillespie, and you lose Cade Tyson. I mean, those are 3 top 10, top 15 at worst guys in the league. And Casey just flipped this thing and went right back to a top 4 seed and right back to the semifinals. I mean, I thought he was as deserving of coach of the year as anybody. How did he do it? The portal set up to flip things fast now, and we know that it taketh, but it can giveth as well. How did he do it at Belmont with? I don't even want to say that the challenges of recruiting to Belmont, or he's got a certain type of guy he wants to get, a certain type of guy he wants to bring in, and to stick in that lane and be like, man, we're not skipping a beat losing all these guys. How'd he do it?
It's a great question. I think the simple answer is he's a heck of a coach, Jeff.
Yeah.
He really is. He's one of a handful of guys around the country. 6 coaches have won 20 games or more in 9 consecutive years. And Casey Alexander is one of them. 6 straight seasons at Belmont and 3 seasons before that at Lipscomb. And so he's just found a way to continually turn out winners. And he certainly built on what Rick Byrd did at Belmont. But this was a huge challenge. There's no question about it, because as you mentioned, yes, you can flip a roster in a year now in college basketball. But 1, you got to have money to do that. And 2, who are you losing as you do that? And I don't think anybody, even Casey, would tell you that there was any way that Belmont was going to reload with the same level of talent as the guys you mentioned. All 3 of those guys were all conference performers last year as sophomores in the Missouri Valley Conference. And when you lose those types of guys, you're just not going to be as talented coming back. But I do think this staff has done an incredible job of just figuring it out exactly who they want to be. They've established the way that they want to play, the type of offense, what they're going to be defensively. And they really went out in the portal last year and said, we're going to find guys that fit our system and how we want to play. And we're also going to try to get old. Because the other thing, Jeff, and this isn't to take away anything from those guys of a couple of years ago, but they were still young. Malik Dia was in his first season at Belmont after playing sparingly at Vanderbilt as a freshman. Cade Tyson did play every game and start every game as a freshman at Belmont, but Jacoby Gillespie didn't. He found his way coming off the bench and really working into a role late in that freshman season. And so that was still a pretty inexperienced team, and there was very little around them in terms of upperclassmen leadership and frankly, much talent in that moment. And so you were relying a ton on those sophomores. And they had some ups and downs. Obviously, Jacoby Gillespie breaking his wrist in the middle of conference play didn't help that either. But they didn't probably reach their potential because they were a very young, albeit talented team, facing a bunch of really old seasoned teams in the Missouri Valley Conference. And I think when they all left and went into the portal, Casey said, okay, we're not going to be as talented as we were last year. But how can we overcome that? And the way they did that is they identified guys who, again, fit the system. But, Jeff, they were old and they were experienced. Carter Witt had played a lot of basketball at Wake Forest and Furman. Brody Peebles was the 6th man of the year at Liberty and had played a lot of basketball. Aiden Noyes was a part-time starter at Richmond on a team that won the A-10 regular season title 2 years ago. Jonathan Pierre won a Division II national championship and came from Memphis. All of these guys had been through wars at different places in college basketball, and they came in. They did a great job of piecing them all together, along with Isaiah Walker and Brigham Rogers, 2 guys who had experience within the program. And now all of a sudden you've got a team that isn't one of the youngest teams in the league, but actually one of the oldest teams in the league. And I think where you really saw that this year, Jeff, was in the close games. I don't have the exact number in front of us, but something like 1/3 of Belmont's games were decided by 6 or 7 points or less. And I think Belmont went like 8-2 in those games this year. And if you think about it, you just go 500. Now all of a sudden you're probably middle of the pack in the Missouri Valley Conference. Maybe you don't win 20 games again, but they just kept finding a way to win those close games. And all of a sudden, it becomes a pretty darn special season where you win 20 games again. You're into the top 4 in the Valley. You get a bye. You've got a chance right down to the very end to beat Drake and get to the championship game. But it was about getting old. It was about getting experienced. And they found guys who'd been through the battles before. And that paid off big time this year for the Bruins.
Dating back to the Rick Byrd days of when we used to talk about APR, which is not anything anybody ever brings up anymore. Retention has always been incredible at Belmont. Guys just come and they stay and they grow and they produce. And again, the world has changed, but so guys get in the portal. I don't. It's rare. I kind of bat an eye anymore, but I was kind of surprised when Isaiah Walker went in. It didn't feel like Isaiah Walker was a Jacoby Gillespie who's going to go, or Malik Dia or Cade Tyson who's going to go get, hundreds of thousands of dollars at some power school. But you're like, man, this dude's just been good. And he's, having sat on the Murray State side and watching him play, respectfully, a nuisance for you're like, this guy again, he's just killing us. But to see him get in the portal, I was just surprised, just from the Belmont pedigree of guys sticking around. Did that one catch you off guard at all?
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone was a little bit concerned about the possibility there, but yeah, it hurts because he is such a Belmont guy. That he came in, he redshirted, he got better every year. He developed into a guy that was an all-conference level performer. He was on the most improved team this year with 11 points and 6 rebounds per game. That's obviously a guy that you would love to have back for his final season in Belmont, Navy, and Red. But I also see it from Isaiah's perspective. He's a guy that has graduated from Belmont. He's been a part of the program for a long time. And I don't know exactly the motive out there, but if you're thinking, I've got 1 year to either maximize on the money part of this or maximize on the experience part of this, and maybe he wants to go Power 5, or he's from Ohio, maybe back to the Midwest and go to like a Big Ten school and take on a different role there, but have the opportunity to play in those environments and maybe a little bit better chance to get an at-large bid to an NCAA tournament. It's hard to begrudge a guy like that. And so this is one of those things where, yeah, certainly if you're Belmont, you're disappointed because you love Isaiah as a person, first and foremost. You love the way he fits into the team as a player. But at the same time, I think in this day and age, you almost just have to hug him on the way out the door and say, we wish you the best. Thanks for everything you've done here, because you've given us so much good. You graduated. You were a good player for us. We won a lot of games with you. And if this is what you want for your final season of college basketball, go do it. But you're right, Jeff. I mean, 5 or 6 years ago, there's no shot that happens. Just like 5 or 6 years ago, if you had Malik Dia, Cade Tyson, Jacoby Gillespie last year, you'd be looking at a team that would probably have been the Missouri Valley Conference favorite this year. But that's just not the reality we live in. And so now you just have to do the best you can with the cards you dealt and try to make the most of each day.
A name we have mentioned, and the flag went up for me over the weekend. Cade Tyson, back in the portal after 1 year at North Carolina, and played 31 games there. Didn't play much. Scored 2.5 points a game. Was just a guy watching this Missouri Valley, watching him play for 2 years. You're just terrified that this guy's going to just run this league. And then it was almost, again, as a non-Belmont person, like, thank you. You can go, and that's great. But you're like, man, I'm so good. We have seen some returns. We saw Zeke Montgomery come back to Bradley after dipping away to Rhode Island, and I thought that was. You never know. Again, there's 1,000 reasons why guys go in the portal, and you never know what the coach-player relationship's like. I thought that said a lot about Brian Wardle, that there was at least a bridge remaining there for him to come back. Is there any wind blowing down there that Cade Tyson could make a return to Belmont?
I think the door is open. Okay. I'm not going to predict anything there, but yeah, I think there's a bridge there if he would like to do it. It's one of those things that I think to most people that's a hard move to make. It's one of those things where you would almost have to swallow your pride.
Sure.
And this didn't work out for me, and now I've got to go back to where I came from. And I'm not sure how many guys can do that. Now, you mentioned that Zeke Montgomery did it at Bradley. There have been a few other instances of that around the country. And so it's not totally unheard of, but we'll see if that could happen in this case. I will say that when Cade left for that opportunity, and I certainly understood the money, and I certainly understood the chance to play for one of the blue bloods in college basketball. But you did wonder, because he had such a good setup for the type of player he was at Belmont, that you wondered if he could duplicate that, frankly, anywhere else, but certainly at a power school like that in North Carolina. And so that's one of those things, without having spoken with Cade or really anybody on this situation, I just saw, like you did when he put his name in the portal. That's something he's going to have to decide here. Is I'm sure somebody's going to be willing to pay him a ton of money because of the potential of what it could be. And so if it's simply a money opportunity, Belmont is not going to be the option for Cade to come back home to, so to speak. But if it's about saying, hey, I've got 1 year left, this did not work out for me last year, where can I go to get back to a guy that is an all-conference level player and can, more than that, show off who I am, show the scouts in Europe or maybe NBA scouts that this is the type of player I can be on both ends of the floor that you did not get a chance to see when I was in Chapel Hill. If that's the decision for him, I would have to think, at least in his head, that a conversation or a phone call back to Belmont would be a priority, because it is hard to imagine an offense, a system, or a coaching staff that would be better for Cade Tyson.
Well, the proof of concept of can Cade Tyson work at Belmont has been 100% successful. We'll have to, again, the door's open. That's at least good to know that the door's open. We'll see if he decides to walk in and if he is welcomed in potentially down the road. Steve Layman, the radio voice for the Belmont Bruins. Thank you so much for the time this morning, and enjoy whatever downtime you have before I guess we got the NFL draft and all that. NFL never stops for you. This little basketball, it's probably a vacation for you here in the winter, but good luck here this spring.
Yeah, the portal's keeping me somewhat busy, but I'm all eyes ahead on the NFL draft being in Green Bay next week, and Cam Ward to the Titans. But yeah, we're following this the best we can in my spare fun time, Jeff.
There you go. All right, Steve. Thank you so much.
Yep, take care, buddy. See ya.
All right, there's Steve Layman. Yeah, I mean, Cade Tyson. Look, I mean, here's the thing. He was, again, he played, as I said, played 31 games at North Carolina. He averaged 2.6 points. He averaged 1.1 rebounds. He shot 29% from three. The 2 years before that at Belmont, he started 59 of 61 games and averaged 15 points a game, 5.5 rebounds, and he was a 45% three-point shooter. I mean, this kid was prolific. And so I don't know if it's going to work. Again, just who knows? There's 1,000 reasons why kids go here, coaches, how the relationship's going to go. But if he can come back, if he wants to come back, if Casey Alexander wants him to come back, that would be as significant of a portal addition as any school in this league is going to make. It's just a 1 year blip. You can't imagine. This wasn't, hey, he had one good. He was an all league guy. He was a top 10 guy in this league 2 years ago. And we'll just have to keep an eye on his future and if he is able to, where he's going to end up. But if he ends up back in the Missouri Valley. Northern Iowa, Trevin Urich, a Mr. Basketball in the state of Iowa in the class of 2025, led his team to another state, his high school team there in Iowa, a third state championship, signed with Ben Jacobson back in November. 6'9", averaged 16 points, 9 rebounds a game for his championship team. He is no longer going to Northern Iowa. He is going to Iowa. Ben McCollum has flipped Trevin Urich from UNI over to Iowa City and the Hawkeyes. This is something I have learned here in this, I guess in the NBA, it's the player empowerment era. In college, just, kids have a little more agency in their future. And, it always used to be, okay, we've got a commitment from a kid. We just have to get them signed. It's like, okay, they've committed, but that doesn't mean we've got them locked up. We've got to get them signed. And once they're signed, then we're good. Well, now we have transferred to, it's fine that they've signed. We've got to get them to campus. And, when they sign in November, it is a long ways to get from November, that first Wednesday when the fall signing period opens, to let's get all the way to basically Memorial Day, when everybody reports for summer workouts, June 1st, we'll just say for a round number. Murray State had a player last year, DJ Shine, from Augusta, Georgia, was going to come in and be a point guard, and for reasons, toward the end of April, he just was like, I'm going to go. I want to go elsewhere, and so they had to let him out of his letter, and he went and moved on. I believe he ended up at Queens College, in Charlotte, and it's just kids are, hey, I'm signing, and this is great, but then when schools go into the portal and they go make their spring portal editions, and then you've got these high school kids coming in and they're like, well, this doesn't look like as good of a situation as it did for me maybe a little while ago. Or hey, in this situation, who knows what led Urick flipping from UNI to Iowa, but a new coach comes in, and maybe whatever Fran McCaffrey attention he was giving to Urick, Ben McCollum's attention was different, and then suddenly it's like, all right, if you can get out of your letter, or do you want to get out? I don't even know that they have the letters anymore, but if you can get out and you want to come, we'd be more than happy to have you. And so it is the days of we got him signed. Those days are over. It's like until they walk in the door on campus about June 1 and they start going through summer workouts, you cannot relax. There's no two ways around it. And so that was a prime example there with Trevin Urick. A couple other former now Missouri Valley Conference players. Jaden Daughtry, Indiana State sophomore, made the most improved team this year. Averaged 13 points a game for the Sycamores. Shot 59%. He went into the portal. He has moved on, committed to Richmond over the weekend. Our friend Harry Schrader, who talked with Ryan Peden, I believe, on Friday, and we'll talk with Ryan Peden coming up on Wednesday. Illinois State head coach, said Cade Norris, the freshman from Hilliard, Ohio. He is into the portal as well. Played 17 games, averaged 1 point a game. Was the I guess from a points per game perspective, the lowest Redbird last season. But Norris, especially with so many guys coming back, it's like, look, you didn't play this year as a freshman, and everybody that was in front of you this season, they're going to be in front of you next season as well. So Norris has stepped into the portal. Former Southern Illinois Saluki Kennard Davis reportedly visiting Ohio State over the weekend. Second team All-Valley performer, the 6'6 guard, 16 and a half points, 5 rebounds, 2.5 assists. He's getting some high major looks there. We talked about Cade Tyson. And again, we'll just curious how that one is going to end up. Some coaching news. Mike Bargan, Bradley associate head coach. He is joining Darren DeVries at Indiana as part of DeVries' staff. Bargan was a graduate assistant at Creighton many moons ago when Darren DeVries was an assistant coach at Creighton. So Bargan will join DeVries there at Indiana. So this is now 2 associate head coaches, Brian Wardle needing to find and replace here in the spring. He's already lost Jimmy Foster, who had been with him for a while. Foster went to Colorado State to join Ali Faroukmanesh's staff there. I mean, Bargan had been with Wardle for 10 years at Bradley. They played together at Marquette. They've just known each other forever. But this is, over the weekend, Wardle was, on social media and putting out, here's my coaching tree and all the guys that are going to this place and that place. And, and he was quoted in the Peoria newspaper just saying, look, we bring players in to develop them, to get them to play at the next level. And he goes, I look at coaches the same way, that we're coming in here, develop, and now you move on to a bigger, better job, however you want to say it, but go to another level. And certainly going to the Big Ten is another level. So I thought that was from a public facing standpoint, I thought that was strong stuff, from Brian Wardle to, wish his guys. I mean, these are his guys. They've been together for so long to wish him the best moving on to the next. But again, there's a lot of hiring that's got to go on here for Coach Wardle to, guys that have been with him a long time, guys that had the associate head coach title that are now gone. So that'll be something to watch here in the spring and summer for Brian Wardle. One scheduling piece of news as we continue to patchwork together everybody's 25-26 non-conference schedules. On the men's side, Northern Iowa has an official date. It'll be December 6th at the McLeod Center. They will host Wichita State. That is a back end of a home and home that was started last November over in Wichita, but that game will be returned December the 6th. In Cedar Falls. It'll be UNI hosting Wichita State. All right, that does it for this morning's edition of Morning in the Valley. Want to thank News Channel 5's Steve Layman, the radio voice for Belmont men's basketball, for being with us again on Wednesday. Illinois State head coach Ryan Peden will join us. If you have not done so already, head on over to YouTube, search Morning in the Valley, subscribe, like, share, all that good stuff, so we can help continue to grow this show, get it in front of as many Valley fans' eyeballs as we can, because I know there's a lot of them out there, and we're hoping to provide coverage to them all year round. Again, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 9 a.m., wherever you are watching us right now, on YouTube, on Facebook, on X. We will be there, and we will be back Wednesday morning, 9 a.m. Ryan Peden will be our guest. That does it for today. Enjoy the rest of your Monday, everybody, and thanks for watching Morning in the Valley.